The date was January 16th, 2025. Madhavi, who lived in Hyderabad, called her parents. Excitedly, she told them that she would be visiting them to celebrate the Pongal festival. Her parents were overjoyed. However, after that call, neither did Madhavi visit her parents' home, nor did she call them again. Concerned, her parents tried reaching out to her, but every time they dialed her number, her phone was switched off. Worried, they finally decided to contact Gurumurthy, her husband. What Gurumurthy told them left them deeply disturbed. Unable to bear the anxiety, they traveled to Hyderabad on January 18th to meet their son-in-law in person. Gurumurthy explained that on the evening of January 16th, he had returned home from work. Previously serving in the army, he had since switched jobs and was now working at DRDO. That evening, Madhavi informed him about her plan to visit her parents for Pongal. However, Gurumurthy strongly objected. Their children were already at their aunt's house, and if Madhavi left too, he would be completely alone during the festival. But Madhavi was adamant. She insisted that she rarely got a chance to visit her parents, and she didn't know when she would get another opportunity. This seemingly small disagreement turned into an argument between them. Eventually, Madhavi, furious, stormed out of the house, and after that, she never returned. At first, Gurumurthy assumed that Madhavi had left in anger and would return soon. However, as time passed, he grew increasingly concerned. By the time January 17th arrived, an entire night had gone by, and there was still no sign of Madhavi. Meanwhile, Gurumurthy was occupied with his demanding job. It was only when his in-laws called him that he explained how she had left after their argument. Initially, he thought she might have gone to her parents' house. But when her parents informed him that she had not arrived there either, a wave of worry set in. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, Madhavi's parents immediately traveled to Hyderabad. Together with Gurumurthy, they went to the police station and filed a missing person report. They detailed everything. How she had left the house upset after their argument and had not been heard from since. At first, the police suspected that she had simply left in anger and would return within a couple of days. However, time kept passing. January 19th, January 20th, and eventually January 22nd. But there was still no trace of Madhavi. Desperate for answers, her parents returned to the police station, pleading for urgent action. By now, even the authorities realized that something was wrong. 6 days had already passed. If Madhavi had gone to a relative's house, she would have likely returned by now. The police then began tracking her phone, only to discover that it had been switched off since the day she left. As their investigation deepened, they called Gurumurthy in for questioning. As Gurumurthy continued answering the police's questions, the officers noticed something unusual. His statements were inconsistent. The details he initially provided did not entirely match what he was saying now. This raised suspicion. Since they had no other solid leads, and Gurumurthy was the last person to see Madhavi, the police began to suspect that he might be hiding something. To gather more evidence, the officers checked the CCTV footage from the street. They discovered that on January 16th, Madhavi was seen stepping out of the house once, but then she went back inside. However, due to the camera angle, the door itself wasn't clearly visible, making it unclear whether she had left again without being captured on camera. The police intensified their questioning of Gurumurthy. As they pressed him for more details, his story kept changing. Some of his previous statements were now altered. By this point, The officers were almost certain that he had a direct connection to Madhavi's disappearance. Deciding to take the investigation further, the police took Gurumurthy into custody for more intense interrogation. Under pressure, he finally broke down and revealed a shocking truth. He admitted, "Yes, I will tell you everything in detail, but you need to come to my house to understand what really happened." At this point, the police had no idea what to expect. Could it be that he had harmed his wife and hidden her inside the house? Various unsettling thoughts ran through their minds as they prepared for what they might uncover next. As soon as the police arrived at the house, Gurumurthy first led them to the kitchen and pointed towards a pressure cooker. However, the cooker appeared completely clean. There was nothing unusual about it. The officers, puzzled, asked him what he was trying to show. Without responding directly, Gurumurthy then led them to the bathroom. It was there that he finally confessed, "This is where I killed her." Had he revealed this earlier, the investigation would have taken a different course. But now, what he disclosed was far more chilling than the officers had anticipated. Gurumurthy recounted the events of that fateful night. "As I told you before, on the evening of January 16th, I returned home from work. Everything I mentioned about our argument was true. The fight began over a seemingly small matter. Madhavi wanted to visit her parents, but I didn't want her to go. That disagreement escalated into a heated argument. What started as a normal verbal dispute soon turned physical. We began pushing each other. Being a former soldier, my strength overpowered her. In the heat of the moment, I grabbed her by the neck. I had no idea that my grip was so tight. I never intended for this to happen. But before I realized it, she had stopped breathing. As soon as he understood what he had done, Gurumurthy was in complete shock. He hadn't meant to take her life. It had all happened in a fit of rage. But now, fear consumed him. His mind raced with thoughts. His prestigious job at DRDO, his role as a security officer, and most of all, what his children would think of him. Panic took over, and instead of reporting the incident, he made a horrifying decision. He went to the kitchen, picked up a sharp weapon, and carried Madhavi's body to the bathroom. He knew that if he tried to dispose of it in one piece, someone might see him. The streets weren't empty, and sneaking out with a body would be nearly impossible. So, he decided on something even more gruesome. Gurumurthy carried a plastic bag with him as he took his wife's body into the bathroom. He then did something unimaginable. He began cutting her into pieces. To cover up any traces of blood, he poured daliang water over the remains, making sure that every drop of blood was washed away. He knew that simply dismembering the body wasn't enough. The process would take too long, and as time passed, decomposition would begin, producing a strong odor. If the neighbors smelled anything unusual, they might start asking questions. That's when an idea struck him. If he boiled the remains, he could prevent the smell from spreading. So, he first cut Madhavi's body into smaller pieces. He separated the bones from the flesh and placed the flesh into a pressure cooker. For the next 72 hours, the pressure cooker kept whistling. The neighbors did notice the constant sound, and even wondered why so much cooking was happening at odd hours. But since they weren't close to the family, they ignored it. The most disturbing part, even at 2 a.m., the sound of the pressure cooker's whistle echoed through the house. Gurumurthy continued this horrifying process for hours. Once he had boiled the remains, he packed them into bags. Finally, he took the remains to Lakta Lake, a small water body nearby. Believing that fish would consume the remains, he dumped them into the water. However, one problem remained: the bones. To dispose of them, he placed them into a mortar and pestle and began crushing them. Once the bones were broken into smaller pieces, he used a grinder to pulverize them into fine dust. He then scattered the remains into the same lake. After completing his gruesome act, he returned home and meticulously cleaned everything: the pressure cooker, the mortar and pestle, and the bathroom where he had dismembered the body. At the time, his children were staying with their aunt. The only people at home had been Madhavi and her husband, and now Madhavi was gone forever. Now there was no evidence left behind. Gurumurthy was convinced that no one would ever catch him. However, when the police uncovered the case, they immediately began searching for remnants in the lake, hoping to find any forensic traces of Madhavi. Their goal was to collect enough proof to present in court, as solid evidence is necessary for legal proceedings. Even now, the police are actively working to gather these crucial pieces of evidence. So, what do you think about this shocking case? Have you ever heard of such a story before? And what are your thoughts on Gurumurthy's disturbing crime? If you found this case interesting, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel, where we bring you more twisted crime stories like this.